Hi, and welcome to Comedy Recap. Today, we're going to explore 1988's Sorority Babes in the Slime Ball Bolorama. Watch out, spoilers ahead. We open the film with a handful of college nerds watching a horror movie and picking out on snacks. One of them is reading a Penthouse magazine. These lonely boys are named Calvin, Jimmy, and Keith. As they keep drinking and cracking jokes, they find out that Keith knows where the Tri-Delta initiation is happening that very night. Excited, they plan on peeping through a window to catch the girls behaving badly. We jump over to the sorority house where the sisters are preparing for the midnight festivities. We meet Babs, Rhonda, and Frankie as they talk about the upcoming tradition. Babs tries to explain that the initiation is a traditional ritual of the house, and the others must go along with the festivities. Babs seems actually to be looking forward to bending someone over and spanking them. After the girls finish getting ready, we cut back to the boys who are trying to see if Calvin is on board with going to peep on the initiation, but he prefers to watch his horror movie instead. Eventually, the talk of seeing naked girls is enough to get him to join in. So, the three hurry over to the sorority house and sneak around the back. But Calvin is drunk from the one beer he drank before they left. Inside, two sorority pledges, Taffy and Lisa, are told to assume the position. The boys end up finding the perfect window to peep through, but Calvin almost spoils things with his loud, drunk talking. Inside, Babs starts to paddle the two initiates, and the boys watch out from the window right next to the girls. But this isn't good enough for them, and Keith decides that they need to find a better vantage point. They end up sneaking inside the house, and Keith leads them into the kitchen, where they watch from another small window in the door. After they are done with the paddle, the sisters move on to spraying the initiates with whipped cream. They then send them to clean themselves upstairs, and Babs decides that she's going to take over and decide the final part of the ritual. Upstairs, the initiates shower to clean off the whipped cream, as they try to guess what the final challenge is. The boys sneak up to the bathroom door, and they peek inside to see the girls naked in the shower. Mesmerized by the sight of some boobies, they end up overstaying their welcome and are caught in the act by Babs. She paddles the boys, and they fall into the bathroom. When they bring the guys downstairs, they try to come up with punishments for them, which is when Babs comes up with the final part of the initiation. The initiates must break into the bowling alley and bring back a trophy, and the guys have to accompany them. At first, Jimmy isn't too keen on breaking into the bowling alley, but once he realizes that they'll be in an abandoned bowling alley with two frightened women, he's all for it. Once they leave, Babs gathers Rhonda and Frankie, and she explains that they'll be able to watch them on the security camera since her father owns the mall that the bowling alley is in. They'll scare them when the time is right. As the group drives to the bowling alley, they try to come up with a plan for how they'll get in the building. The sorority sisters arrive to the mall first and enter to get set up. As they get to the office, they notice the janitor, who ends up getting locked in a broom closet. Just then, the group pulls up outside, still pondering how to gain entry. But, luckily, when Calvin goes to try the door, it's unlocked. Inside the bowling alley, they can't help but feel like something creepy is in there with them. But they still decide to split up to search for a trophy. The girls stick together, and Calvin walks off by himself. Calvin ends up coming across another woman who is trying to steal from the cash register, and as the rest of the crew show up, we find out her name is Spider. Calvin tells her why they're there, and she admits to being there to steal from the joint. The crew leaves her to it, but Calvin can't help but tell that she's doing something bad. While the two of them keep talking, the other four try to open up the trophy room. When Keith can't get it done, Spider shows up with her crowbar and unlocks the gate. Jimmy ends up dropping the trophy, and something strange starts to come out of it. Soon, they see that a gargoyle-like creature named Uncle Impy has come out. He explains that he's going to give a wish to each of them. Jimmy goes first. He wishes for gold, and Uncle Impy grants his wish. Just behind them is a large stack of gold bars. Jimmy is over the moon with excitement. When it comes time for Keith's wish, Uncle Impy guesses that his wish is to do hot things to Lisa. Sure enough, he makes it happen. They all turn around to see Lisa wearing only lingerie and acting as if she's in a sexual trance. When Calvin mentions the idea of leaving, Uncle Impy magically locks down the area. We cut over to see how Keith's wish is going, and it definitely seems to be going quite well. When it comes time for Taffy's wish, he tells her that she can have one wish now and another later. For her first wish, Taffy wishes that she could be queen of the prom. Spider decides that she's had enough of the shenanigans and walks off with Calvin. Next, Uncle Impy looks at the cameras and proclaims that there's no peeking allowed. He turns Rhonda and Frankie into demons, but Babs somehow seems to get away. As she runs for the exit, she gets electrocuted when she touches the doors. Calvin and Spider watch this happen, and they go to warn the others of the dangers they face. Soon, Rhonda and Frankie come out to attack the group. Spider handles them as the group runs away. Uncle Impy trips Jimmy, and the monster girls catch up to him. They then shove his face into an ice shaver. Meanwhile, Keith has had enough of his wish, and he tries to get away, but Lisa won't let him go. Back in the alley, Rhonda takes Jimmy's head and she bowls with it down the lanes. Spider and Calvin keep running, but Calvin's weak stomach stops them in a closet for a moment. Out in the mall, Taffy tries to run and hide from Frankie, but Frankie is right around the corner. Keith, on the other hand, is about to get the ride of his life, but for some reason he keeps trying to stop her. Spider barricades the closet as best as she can, but soon Calvin hears Frankie calling his name from out in the mall. Instead, Frankie actually ends up finding Taffy, but Taffy beats her with the rod she found. Just when she thinks she's finished the job, Frankie grabs her and tells her that there's nothing she can do against her. Back at the closet, Rhonda comes to the door and breaks her way in, but Calvin finds a gun, and Spider shoots Rhonda down. Keith decides that this enchanted love isn't right, because he doesn't think Lisa would be doing any of this if it wasn't for the spell she's under. Lisa assures him that it doesn't matter, but that's not good enough for him. Finally, the janitor gets out of the closet, and he heads out to keep working. Keith, having spent the night trying to keep his pants on, is unaware of any of the dangers lurking in the mall or why he can't find anyone. When he goes to eat some fries from the fryer, Rhonda suddenly sneaks up behind him and dumps his head in the hot oil. Meanwhile, Spider and Calvin hide in the bathroom, and he tells her that smoking is another bad habit of hers. Spider seems to be getting tired of Calvin telling her that she does bad things, but she jumps to the plan of finding a weapon. Even though weapons don't seem to stop the monster girls, it still seems like it's better than nothing. Back out in the mall, Taffy finds Keith's body, and she's captured by a dressed-up Rhonda and Frankie. The two demon girls end up pulling Taffy apart, and soon, Babs wakes up and spots some of the dead bodies. She runs for the back of the bowling alley and hides. Spider and Calvin come out and find both halves of Taffy, but they keep looking for something to use as a weapon. She ends up finding a knife, but she hopes that'll be better than nothing. In the back of the alley, Babs comes face to face with Uncle Impy, and she asks who he is and why he's doing this. He explains that he's a lesser imp, and Rhonda and Frankie are his lackeys thanks to his minor spell. He's simply there to torment the group, and he has to go through with all of this. When Babs attempts leaving, Rhonda shows up to fight her, but Babs throws her out onto the lane. Just then, Calvin and Spider pop up, and Spider bowls a ball down the lane straight into Rhonda's head. Just as Babs celebrates, Uncle Impy decides that Babs is going to take Rhonda's place, and he puts her under his spell. Eventually, Calvin and Spider make it to the janitor's closet, and they find the janitor sleeping in his chair. When they wake him up, they tell him about what's going on. He's skeptical, but finally believes them after Calvin mentions which trophy opened up. He tells them that the imp has been trapped for 30 years. He was there 30 years ago when the imp was set free, and the kid that sent the imp free was sentenced to death for all the bodies that popped up back then. When Calvin asks how the imp got in the trophy, the janitor mentions that the kid locked him up to seal his powers, and that's the plan for how to stop him now. As Calvin and Spider look around for someone, Frankie jumps out and scares the knife out of Spider's hands. injuring Calvin in the process. We quickly jump over to see Babs, dressed up in her best 80s rock outfits, as she approached a still naked Lisa. Elsewhere, Spider takes care of Calvin's cut and comes up with a plan to burn the demons. Suddenly, Babs shows up and attacks them. Spider holds her off long enough for Calvin to set her on fire. When they go to get the janitor, they find that Frankie has already killed him. They run for their lives, but Spider ends up cutting Frankie's head off. This makes the doors open, and Calvin runs to get the car. But little does he know, Demon Rhonda is waiting for him in the back seat, causing him to flip over his car. Back inside, Spider manages to finally trap the imp back in a trophy. As the morning comes, their crazy night has come to an end. Spider talks Calvin into coming into her place, and they ride off into the sunrise. This one is the perfect example of the blatant approach to comedy that made the 80s an enjoyable time for comedy. Everything was usable, and because of that, they made sure to use it. Thanks for watching. If you've enjoyed this video, be sure to like and subscribe to the channel. That way, you won't miss a single video.